What is up, guys? It's the Triple Option back at it with another video. Today we are joined by Sham, the finalist, and we're going to be giving our playoff predictions. So Shriyansh, take it away. We have the Jazz and the Nuggets, who have the Denver Nuggets leading 1-0 today in an overtime battle.
I think that Denver is going to definitely win the series as they're the third seed. They've proven that they are a very good team with Jamal Murray's performance especially. But the thing that really gave it away for me was the fact that Donovan Mitchell today, he had to drop 57 points just to force overtime and end up losing. And that really says something about how much that he has to do in order to lift his team. Like the Jazz overall, we know that Donovan Mitchell is not going to be scoring 57 points per game in this series, and even that wasn't enough to lift them over the Nuggets. So I really think that the Nuggets have a solid chance of winning this series. So I have them winning in 6. I think the Jazz can steal like 1 or 2 games. So I have the Denver Nuggets in 6.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd say that my Nuggets pick, though, like when I was personally doing my predictions earlier on my website, the thing is that I went pretty bold with this prediction. I said Nuggets in 5. I'm definitely skeptical about my pick now. I feel Nuggets in 6 is much more realistic. Based on today's performance, yes, I do agree. Donovan Mitchell dropped 57. At the end of the day, he still lost, but it does look scary that the Nuggets defense was not looking great down the stretch. Because again, Mitchell dropped 57 points, which is the third most in playoff history. And he was also the youngest player to do that since, Michael Jordan did 63 against the Celtics way back. And the thing is that the Nuggets are definitely winning this series because, Ed Davis for the Jazz is out with a left knee MCL injury. And then, of course, we can't forget in the backcourt, they're shorthanded because Mike Conley's not in the bubble. He left back to Columbus, Ohio for the birth of his child. So he probably will not be around for the whole series. So it's up to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert to steal the show. And I don't think that's really going to happen against Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, who can match up well.
Yeah, they're also missing Bojan Bogdanovic, right?
Exactly. Yeah. He was out with an injury before even coming to the bubble, and then we can't forget that the Jazz are shorthanded. We can't forget the Nuggets have Michael Porter Jr. and Bol is like a guy that is very slept on too. I feel he can really cause problems against Rudy Gobert.
And Jamal Murray is exceeding expectations, like especially in the clutch today.
Exactly.
He outperformed every other player on the court.
Exactly. Like watching the game today too, like I was like, wow, Mitchell's 57 points is amazing. But when it came down to what it mattered most, like when I saw Murray hitting those mid-range jumpers and a couple of threes, I was like, oh boy, like he's in his bag. Like this is it. The Nuggets are, they're taking over. They're doing what they ought to do to get the win.
Now that's going to be an interesting series. But now I think we have one that's kind of easy to predict. We have the Toronto Raptors versus the Brooklyn Nets. The Raptors are leading 1-0 in a hard-fought battle by the Nets, coming back almost from a 33-point deficit. But ultimately, Fred VanVleet steals the show, going for a double-double. What is your take?
So I think this is my most confident prediction in the entire playoffs, and I say Raptors in 4 because of the fact that the Brooklyn Nets actually let the Raptors get a 30-point lead in the second quarter alone. The score was 65-35. Yeah, they made a comeback. But in the end, what was the final score? 110-134. They still lost by 24 points. The Nets are severely short-handed. They're missing, obviously Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant aren't playing. But they're also missing Spencer Dinwiddie, who showed that he was like the third option on the Nets when you're not counting the superstars. Karis LeVert, he's playing pretty phenomenal. I don't think he had that great of a game today as he did versus Portland, but the depth of the Toronto Raptors just makes them so much more enabled than the Nets. This is an easy victory for them.
Definitely. I 100% agree with everything that you said. And the thing is that it's a very lopsided matchup over here. It's very arguable that this is the most confident pick that you could make. Maybe even the Bucks winning against the Magic. That's also a very confident pick. The Eastern Conference, the first round matchups in the Eastern Conference across the board is very, lopsided. It's very confident picks in almost every single category. And the thing is that even though, like, despite, the departure of, last year's finals MVP Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors have actually improved this year as a team. And I saw, like, per CBS Sports, like, this year's Toronto Raptors, they have a better win percentage at 73.2. They won their third consecutive divisional title. They have a higher three-point percentage than last year, and they're shooting 37.4% from three. And they also have the second best record in the NBA. They're they are the biggest threat to the Milwaukee Bucks, who are the top seed in the East. And even though, like, Caris LeVert he has the potential to take over games, don't get me wrong, but like you just said, Trianch, like, the Toronto Raptors have that depth. That's something that the Brooklyn Nets don't have, with the absence of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. I feel that the bubble Nets right now are really scouting LeVert and saying, hey, can you be a great number 3 for us next year? It's not about him being a great player. They're just really scouting. And it's a very lopsided match, as I could definitely see the Raptors sweeping the Nets.
This one's kind of an easy one to pick, the Raptors. I also have them winning this series. But one that's very interesting is the Ben Simmons-less Philadelphia 76ers versus Boston Celtics. Very close game. But Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown take over and help the Celtics get a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, I have, because before I did not have the Celtics, like, I think the Celtics right now, they'll probably win it in 5. But before I had it in like maybe 6 or 7 games. But without Ben Simmons, that really makes a tremendous impact on their play. Yeah, the game was fairly close, but I think that was kind of I probably shouldn't say this, but I think it's a fluke. Of course, the Sixers played well today, but I also think that the Boston Celtics didn't play that well near the beginning. I'm looking at the stats, right? And then Gordon Hayward only had 12. Tatum has 32. That's normal. Brown had 29. That's pretty good. Marcus Smart did not have a good game. He played 31 minutes, had 2 points. The Celtics had like a decent game, but they weren't playing their very best basketball tonight. And it's just a matter of the fact that I feel the Celtics have more offensive threats, that they have this one in the bag.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Jason Tatum, of course, today had a playoff career high 32 points that led to a much needed victory. And I agree. It was closer than I expected. I'm still sticking with my Celtics in 6 prediction. It's completely okay to say Celtics in 5 too, but I don't see a sweep ever happening here. I think the Sixers definitely have a little something left in the tank, but to make it out of this series is just absurd to think about, because they are relying on Joel Embiid to be a guy that we haven't seen him be. He is arguably the best big man in the league. And the thing is that, but without Simmons, a guy to complement his game, he doesn't have the potential to take over games like, a LeBron talent or like a Kawhi, Kevin Durant. Like, he is not that type of player. He's not built for this type of these games. So I 100% agree that Boston has this one also wrapped up in the bag. And Boston's winning the series.
I also have Boston winning this series, and also in addition to the loss of Ben Simmons on this team, also we have to realize that Joel Embiid is not playing at 100%. I believe he has an arm injury, so that obviously didn't impact his game very much today, but I do think that in the long run in this series, it's going to take a bit of a toll on him. Moving on to the last game of the quadruple header on Monday, we have the Mavericks and the Clippers in a sort of close game, you can say.
Yeah, well, we're right now recording while that game's going on. But yeah, I think that Shriyansh was obviously talking about it before, how the Mavericks kind of are giving a real push until, Kristaps Porzingis got ejected. And all of a sudden, the Clippers got a nice leeway to take a 1-0 series lead. And I believe that, the Mavericks offense this year is playing, just absolutely off the charts. It's unmatched. But I also did see a very interesting stat. I can't remember where I saw this. Don't quote me on this exactly, but they do have one of the highest offensive ratings in NBA history.
They have the highest in NBA history.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So they have the highest in NBA history. So that's comparing them, the most recent Golden State Warriors. And, of course, the greatness of Michael Jordan's, 6 rings with Chicago Bulls in the 1990s and all. So, anyways, but the interesting stat that I saw is that even though they have the highest offensive rating of all time, this season alone, or all time, again, don't quote me on this, they have the 5th worst offensive rating in the clutch. So when it's very close games, that's where they can, kind of shoot themselves in the foot. So I feel that that's why the Clippers are going to win this series. I believe that I predicted the Clippers to take it in 6 games because you can never underestimate Luka and, of course, Kristaps as well. They both need to play lights out because, you're dealing with guys like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, of course. And then on top of that, though, the supporting cast for the Clippers is what is going to be the main difference maker. With Lou Williams as a great 6th man that we mentioned earlier, and of course Montrezl Harrell coming in there, and of course Patrick Beverley's defense is completely underrated. But yeah, what do you have to say about this, Trion?
Yeah, okay. I think that the Clippers are obviously today's game definitely made it a harder decision for me, but I think the Clippers are going to win this one in 6. However, if the scenario is that the Mavericks somehow forced it into 7 games, I have the Mavericks taking the series. But let me just retract that and just go back to what I was saying about the Clippers taking it in 6. This game today has shown me that the Mavericks are really much better team than what we previously anticipated. The fact that they're continuing to fight the Clippers as we are speaking right now, the score is 100 to 106. And Kristaps got ejected, I think, in the start of the 3rd quarter, but the fact that they are still holding on so close kind of gives me hope that this team has the potential to force Game 7, and in that instance, I believe they can win. And like you said, they have the highest offensive rating. Problem is, the Clippers have really good defense, but
exactly, yeah,
it's just a matter of who plays harder.
Right, exactly. Not to get both of us wrong over here. I think we both completely agree on the fact that the Clippers defense is going to be very tested big time in this opening round by both Luka and Porzingis. But I do ultimately believe that they should pull out with the victory because that's the expectation. I'm not going to be surprised about that.
Yeah, but let me just add, when I said that the Mavericks would win it in 7, obviously the Clippers have more veterans and they have greater depth, but the thing that the Clippers lack that the Mavericks possess is the team chemistry. Like, the team chemistry of the Clippers, it's evident that it still has not clicked. Like, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and all of these starters, they still have no set lineup. And this is round 1 of the playoffs, and they've never had one lineup consistent throughout.
That's very true. Yep.
Yeah, the Mavericks are fighting hard, obviously, without most of the second half without Kristaps Porzingis. But one thing I did realize was the Mavericks, they have a hard time producing offense without Luka Doncic on the floor. So I do think that that's something that the Clippers are going to take advantage of, and I do also have the Clippers winning this series. So now moving on to one of the easiest predictions of this playoffs, we have the number 1 seed and the best record in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks against the Orlando Magic. So this one's pretty easy. Shreyans, what are your thoughts?
Bucks in 4. I don't think I even need to speak on this. Like, the Bucks have so much more depth. They have a player named Giannis. I don't know if you heard of him, but I don't know anybody on the Magic that's going to try to stop him. I think they should just clear the way for him, let him drop 60. Like, there's nothing the Magic are going to do. Yeah, they'll get lucky if they win, or they'll be lucky if they don't get blown out.
Honestly, I could not have said it better myself. When I was also writing my article on the Fanalists yesterday prior to all these games, if you do realize, I probably didn't take more than, I want to say, 200 some words to just, say the Bucks are winning this series. It's not going to be close. Like, I think if any team is going to sweep, it's going to be the Bucks. That's just my idea of it. I think Raptors definitely have that potential to do it, but if I have a game lock for a sweep or a series sweep, it's going to be the Bucks. It's not even fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of like a lock, do you guys think that the Rockets have a lock against the Thunder?
Oh,
No
No.
way.
Nope.
Yeah, no. I think the Thunder have surpassed the expectations of all of us tremendously. Like we've said, day in and day out, the Thunder have exceeded our expectations. And honestly, I think that the Thunder, while I do have the Rockets winning in 6, the Thunder could force it to 7, and I'd still take the Rockets over them on account of the fact that James Harden can be really explosive, and the Thunder really need to somehow shut down James Harden. But the key thing for the Rockets is they need to find their rhythm before the second round. In case they do make it out of the first round, they need to make sure that Russell Westbrook and James Harden can both produce on the court together, because usually what we've been seeing up until this bubble, actually the entire regular season, it was always one player making up for the other one's bad games. But in the bubble, they've both shown that they've increased like their chemistry together. They've both been performing really well together.
No, definitely. I agree with you. I think that this is arguably the best playoff matchup in the opening round. Everything has just come full circle, almost just over a year after Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul get traded for each other. Both the Rockets and the Thunder find themselves in a nail-biting matchup once again. And it is unfortunate that Russell Westbrook is going to miss, I'm going to say, a little bit more than 2 games. That's the idea. Mike D'Antoni did say it's going to be a few days for him to, jump back in. So I'm predicting he's probably going to miss 2 to 3 games, hopefully not more than that. And because he's going to be missing those games, I believe that over the course of the first 3 games, I would not be surprised to see the Oklahoma City Thunder take a 2-1 series lead. But then you have to deal with James Harden, and that's the problem. There's no way you're going to stop the 3-time scoring champ. Like, this guy's won scoring champ of the NBA, 3 straight seasons? I mean, including this year, which is just absurd. And the only person that can stop Harden is Harden himself.
Exactly.
Like, you see this man drop, 60, and the team still loses, but guess what? He still has a good game. And that's the sad part about it. It's not that he needs a supporting cast. The thing is that I just don't see how Oklahoma City's young core is gonna be able to deal with James Harden, because I think those young guys are going to come onto the court. They're going to be like, all right, it's the playoffs, this and that. We're in a bubble, all that stuff. It doesn't matter, because Harden, like, very few players like Harden, like LeBron, Harden, Kawhi, Kevin Durant. Again, it's the same list of guys. They go from being great to like a next level that you don't see in the playoffs. You get what I'm saying? And that's why it's just going to be, I could see Houston locking this up in 6. And yes, I do agree with you, Shranch. If it does go to 7, the Rockets are still going to take it.
Yeah. But what you did remind me, though, is that, I think the Thunder will take the earlier games when the Rockets are missing Russell Westbrook. But I like how you said that the only person stopping James Harden is James Harden himself. We need to account for the fact that he's a volume shooter that sometimes has really terrible games. Like, he can drop 60 points, but the next game he might have like 10 turnovers and shoot like 4 for 27, because he's literally done this before. So the Rockets really need to hope that James Harden is consistent, because through his past, James Harden has never been consistent. And honestly, I think James Harden is the reason why the Rockets haven't actually made it past to the conference finals. Obviously, they had the potential to beat the Warriors, but Chris Paul got injured that year. I think that year the Rockets actually could have made it to the finals, but James Harden.
And might I just add that Oklahoma City has failed to make it out of the first round of the playoffs since Kevin Durant left them. So it's just something, like, even though, like, again, I am an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, it's tough for me to talk about stuff, but the thing is that I don't see this team, just making it out of here. It's just too, like, you're not, like, Harden's not leaving the playoffs in the first round. That's not happening.
Yes. Speaking of injuries, we have another big injury for the Indiana Pacers. Sabonis is out for the rest of the playoffs. But we have an intriguing matchup between Jimmy Butler and a bubble surprise TJ Warren. So who do you guys have in this matchup, the Heat and the Pacers?
I have the Heat in 6.
I'm gonna probably take the Heat in 6 as well, because the thing is that whoever Jimmy Butler gets on him, like I don't care who's guarding Jimmy Butler, like this guy should get more respect in this league. I think that there's something about Jimmy Butler, personally for me as a fan, you guys could disagree with me on this, but I think that him and Damian Lillard, like those two guys, like they have like that dog mentality. Like
they get in your head.
If you it's like they get in your head, but if you try to do something to them, like they know they're human. Everybody makes mistakes, but they will come back and they will hit you, like they will hit you twice as badly. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, the people with the same mentality as that is the people that kind of justify their trash talk. Players like Kobe and Michael Jordan.
Exactly. And like the thing is that they let their game do talk. They're like we saw it with TJ Warren and Jimmy Butler. He doesn't care who you are. And I mean, no offense to TJ Warren.
He will disrespect you if you try to go after him. And that's that mentality that winners possess.
Exactly. And like, honestly, like, I mean, I'm not trying to insult TJ Warren in any kind of way, but I'm going to be honest with you. I really didn't realize like who this guy was until this year. Like, honestly, like, I mean, that's no discredit to him. I'm not disrespecting his game. You know, we've seen what he can do with the bubble, but like what Jimmy Butler said post game, he's like, I'm not worried about him. Like, he's not in my, effing league. Like that's his mentality. He knows who he's going up against. And I'm sure he respects TJ Warren, but he knows that he's better than you. He will beat you, and he will make sure that you know that he's going to beat you. So, and, with the supporting cast too, like when you put up a TJ Warren supporting cast, and actually, I don't even know why we're talking about TJ Warren. The best player on the Pacers is Victor Oladipo, okay? I think the narrative as media and as fans want to see, TJ and Jimmy Butler, like all that stuff. But really, it's just Victor Oladipo comes into his play, and I don't believe that the Pacers are in a place of contention, because you got to deal with Tyler Hero, who's a great underrated rookie.
Duncan Robinson,
and don't even get me
one
started.
of the best shooters in the NBA.
Exactly. Like, this man's shooting I believe just at 50%, or if not more, from behind the arc. And the only two guys that are better than him, Steph and Clay. So.
Yeah, like Duncan Robinson is an elite shooter. Bam Adebayo is an elite defender, rebounder, and he can score whenever you need him to. The Heat have phenomenal defense, offense all around, and what we saw from the Pacers and Heat matchup already was the fact that Jimmy Butler just completely shut down TJ Warren. He was averaging 40 points in the bubble, and what does he do against the Heat? Like 16 or something? Not even.
Here, let me actually pull that up for you, because I just loved that stat line. I wrote about it, and here, okay. So basically, so TJ Warren is averaging almost just over 35 points per game, if I was not mistaken. Then when they met on August 10th in the bubble, Butler, when he was guarding Warren, held him to 12 points on 35.7% shooting from the field, and he had a plus minus of minus 11. Meaning, like, when TJ Warren was on the floor, they got outscored 11. By, exactly, which is just, it's absurd, man. Like, and they won that game 114-92, by the way. So I could see the Pacers giving a fight here and there, but the Miami Heat are taking this game, and they're going to go and play the Bucks, dude. And that's going to be scary, because they beat the Bucks. I think they have a better regular season, like a head-to-head matchup than the Bucks this year. Like, I think they bested them 2-1, if I'm not mistaken.
Giannis
in the regular season,
actually do well in the playoffs, unlike last season.
Exactly.
I'm destroyed by Kawhi.
Exactly. And the thing is that the Eastern Conference, like, this first round is like whatever. It's very like, we know who's kind of going to win these years. But the second round that's coming up is going to be so good. Like, I think we're going to see like the Celtics and the Raptors and the Bucks and the Heat, and like, man, like, I don't care. Like, it's going to be way too tough to predict those series. I think I can see the Raptors and the Celtics, but the Bucks and the Heat, like, it's a tough series to predict.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be an intriguing matchup between the Heat and the Pacers. But another hot team or a hot player in the bubble, Dame Dollar, he's going up against the number 1 seed, Los Angeles Lakers, Shreyonsh's team. So Shreyonsh, what do you got for your team?
I got the Lakers winning in 6. And I think the 2 games that we lose will only be because Anthony Davis has a bad game.
Yeah,
And
I can get on board with that.
And that's me being generous, because really the Lakers have the potential to end it in 5, because you have to realize that, sure, the Blazers, who they have Yusuf Nurkic, they have CJ McCollum, and they have Damian Lillard. But they're forgetting the fact that the Lakers have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are both top 5 players in the NBA this season. And the Lakers have better defense than the Blazers. Who is stopping Anthony Davis? I really want to know, because I know Yusuf Nurkic is not going to do anything. Yusuf Nurkic will be lucky to score 8 points on Defensive Player of the Year candidate Anthony Davis. All-star starter Anthony Davis. They're not doing anything against him. They're forgetting about LeBron James, probably one of the best playoff performers in NBA history. Him, Michael Jordan, like up there, one of the best.
No, I 100% agree with that. And the thing is that like Nurkic and Hassan Whiteside, who's not had an amazing season,
he's
but
not
like
doing good at all.
Exactly. So like they both have to deal with the tall task of taking on Anthony Davis, like Anthony freaking Davis. And the thing is that let's just say hypothetically they find a way to hold Davis to like 20 points, maybe just under, okay? And that's a bad game for Davis, by the way, who's averaging 26.1 points per game this season. Anyways, if they just hold him down a little bit, how are you going to deal with JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard? Because those are 2 names that are very slept on. Like for the Lakers, those guys can ball like when they need to.
Mm-hmm.
And continue.
So one player that I have that is finally kind of becoming what we've expected from him is Kyle Kuzma, because this entire season he has not been performing that well. He's kind of just like not exceeded our expectations. He's like performing a lot worse than what we anticipated. But now in the bubble, he's really starting to show that he is the 3rd best player on the Lakers. He's earned his starting role now. He is a starter for the Lakers in the playoffs now. I believe the starting lineup for the Lakers is going to be LeBron, AD, Kuzma, JaVale McGee, and Danny Green. And I think, Danny Green is 3-and-D player. I think he can limit CJ McCollum to like 20, maybe, or not even 20, maybe like 15 to 16 points out of Danny Green.
Yeah.
And then Dame will go for 40 probably. But the thing is, one player is not going to win this tournament. Because the thing is, the Blazers, the reason why they've been so successful is because of Yusuf Nurkic specifically. Blazers would have been a mid-seed playoff team without Yusuf Nurkic. But the thing is, Yusuf Nurkic is not going to do a fraction of what he normally does against Anthony Davis. And then Damian Lillard alone is not enough to beat the Los Angeles Lakers, who, they didn't perform that well in the bubble, but you have to realize the fact they didn't need to perform that well in the bubble because we were so far ahead of every other team. The fact that we already clinched the Western Conference after 3 games in the bubble.
Yeah, exactly. No, I 100% agree with that. And like the thing is that you're going to see the Blazers like playing lights out because they're fighting for their life to make the playoffs. So they are arguably one of the more like scarier 8th seeds we've seen in the recent, history of basketball playoffs. But once again, I think it's going to be a gutsy series. The Lakers will get out of this though. And I'm going to say it could be kind of close here and there some games, but at the end of the day, a win's a win. And that's all that matters. And I think I got the Lakers also, winning this in 6. And, going off your previous point, like how you mentioned, you got to deal with Anthony Davis, right? But then, there's also LeBron James that you mentioned. And the thing is that, hey, you're going to deal with LeBron, who's already one of the most lethal scoring options this league has seen. But his scariest skill set this season is his passing, which is 10.2
And let me add to that. I believe Rondo is going to come back.
He's aiming to come back in the first round of the playoffs. So I can see him, coming in 3rd, 4th game, something like that. So I don't know. And playoff experience is what the number one thing is too. I think that the Blazers can keep some games close, but again, a win's a win, and that's all that matters.
There's a reason why Damian Lillard's never been to the NBA Finals. He doesn't have the cast. Of course, he's a good player, phenomenal player. That's hands down. Everybody agrees with that. He doesn't have the cast to do it. You heard it himself. He said he wants to win it in Portland. He doesn't want to form a super team. He was offered to form a super team. Well, here's your reward. You're going to be a first-round exit.
Damn, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yep.
Oh yeah, some great matchups in the first round. As Sham and Shion said, the second round is even more intriguing than the first round. But that's going to do it for this video. So make sure to let us know if you disagree or agree with any of our predictions. And make sure to follow Sham because he has the fastest news on Instagram.
Yep, at thepanelist.live.
Yep, so that's going to do it. See y'all next time.
Awesome.